Praise Jesus, everybody. Thank you for joining me for Palm Sunday, Egypt, Syria, and Hawaii Democrat Representative Tulsi Gabbard on this series, Massive Bible Prophecy Update, Part 6. It's Monday, April 10, 2017, and it is 2:07 p.m. Pacific Time. Sitting here in my rented room and being unemployed, getting ready to complete this broadcast and then go to work, my part-time job. So it's Monday, April 10, 2017. This is the update. Please refer to info section in my audio podcast link for all links until further notice. Due to technical difficulties regarding the network of shows my extensive coverages are on the Michael Tobin Show, all links to this massive update series can be referenced right here. Thank you for being a part, and God bless you. So, Palm Sunday, Egypt, Syria, Korea, and Massive Prophecy Update, Part 6. I have an audio podcast right here, and early yesterday morning, it was claimed that ISIS has credited themselves with the Coptic church bombings in 2 Egyptian cities where many died and more were injured. And to top that, there were more fighter jet attacks in Syria on Saturday, 2 days after the U.S. chemical deaths and injuries in Syria. But as of yet, it was not clear just who was behind those attacks at the timing of producing this show. I want to play for you a video of a news update, early update of the church bombings.
Radical Islamic terrorism has struck yet again, this time on a holy day, at the very heart of the Coptic Christian community. The first bombing happened at the St. George Church in the Nile Delta town of Tanta. The second explosion ripped through St. Mark's Cathedral in the coastal city of Alexandria. The twin attacks coming just weeks before Pope Francis is due to visit Egypt. David Lee Miller is in our Middle East Bureau in Jerusalem, live with the very latest on this horrific Palm Sunday attack that again targets Christians. David Lee?
Eric, let's start now with the latest development. Just moments ago, Egypt's president said he is going to deploy the military to assist police in protecting what were termed vital facilities across the country. Meanwhile, this second attack at St. Mark's Cathedral is very significant. Only moments earlier, the leader of the Coptic Church, Pope Tewodros II, had just finished his services there. He was not hurt, but 11 worshippers were killed at that location. Egypt's interior minister says a suicide bomber tried to enter the cathedral, but he was stopped by police, 3 of whom are now among the dead. And surveillance camera video now apparently shows the suicide bomber trying to enter the cathedral. He's directed towards a metal detector, and at that point, his device was detonated. This cathedral, considered sacred, it serves as the historical seat for the Coptic Pope. And earlier, as you mentioned, at least 26 worshippers were killed during a packed church service in the Nile Delta town of Tanta. A woman who lived across the street said the powerful blast shook her building. She described church deacons with blood-stained white robes running from the scene. She said more seriously injured were rushed in private cars to a nearby hospital. ISIS claimed responsibility for both of today's blasts. In a recent video, the terror group threatened to increase attacks targeting Egypt's minority Christian community. Recently, an ISIS splinter group claimed responsibility for attacks in Egypt's relatively remote Sinai region. In addition to striking police and the military, an ISIS affiliate there said it was behind the downing of a Russian plane that killed all 224 people on board. And Egypt's President, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, in an interview last week with our very own Brett Baer, says there's been great progress in fighting ISIS-linked terror groups in the Sinai, adding, though, it takes time. And underscoring that point, Eric, one of the 2 churches that were attacked today was under attack as recent as last March. That's when authorities say they were able to detonate a bomb at the location. Eric?
All right, David Lee. Egyptian officials have said that radical Islamic terrorism, as you say, their number 1 foe. Thanks.
Okay, folks, that was a Fox video. And Egypt declares state of emergency now after church bombings. President Sisi announced the measure after a meeting of the National Defense Council. President Sisi says 3-month emergency law to be imposed after ISIL claimed blast at Coptic churches killed dozens. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi says a 3-month state of emergency will be imposed after 2 bomb blasts killed dozens of worshippers in Coptic Christian churches. The Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, also known as ISIS, armed group claimed responsibility for Sunday's suicide bombings in the Nile Delta cities of Alexandria and Tanta, in which more than 40 people were killed. A series of steps will be taken, most importantly the announcement of a state of emergency for 3 months after legal and constitution steps are taken, Sisi said in a speech aired on state television. Sisi, who in 2013 led the overthrow of democratically elected President Mohamed Morsi, leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, announced the measure after a meeting of the National Defense Council. The emergency law expands police powers of arrest, surveillance, and seizures and can limit freedom of movement. Egypt declared a state of emergency in the months that followed the military ouster of Morsi. Part of North Sinai, where ISIL's Egyptian affiliates is based, is still under a state of emergency. Earlier on Sunday, a statement by the presidential office said that Sisi had ordered troops be deployed across the country to help secure vital facilities. The bombings were the latest in a series of assaults on Egypt's Christian minority, who make up about 10% of the population and have been repeatedly targeted by armed groups. And you can read the rest of this article on my blog where I have it logged. And now let's tie up the week in the latest on Syria and past 11 days now of this 6-part series and continuing of massive Bible prophecy update. The media had at least 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to give all of their talking points, and it is now time for me to tell you some more stuff, and I have it all logged right here. The following 6-minute story of the Syria civil war conflict is accurate except for the parroted statements as if factual that Assad gassed his own people. Those claims of the past have been easily debunked, but it tends to help wipe any further guilt from the United States and certain other allies for the guilt of financially funding and creating ISIS for their failed plans to topple Assad to prohibit Russia from benefiting and prospering their own nation. We want it all, but ISIS has run amok, and like Frankenstein, they must now be wiped out. It does not mention that the United States wants to run natural gas from Qatar up through Afghanistan and west through Turkey to the Mediterranean Sea, which explains our agreement between our countries. And Russia has a deal with Syria and Qatar to purchase and pipe natural gas up through Iran, Syria, and west to the Mediterranean Sea. These deals were done at and around the same time. That is exactly the Syrian conflict is all about. Except it is also demonic, and 99% so far evident of exactly how Jeremiah and Isaiah prophecies are true concerning Damascus being destroyed. More that to follow. It also doesn't say that Assad did not attack his people with chemicals last week. He actually destroyed a terrorist chemical stash, and those who died were collateral damage. So he was punished for doing that on his own rather than a surgical mission. And on my blog, I have a 6-minute history of the whole Syrian conflict, and I just explained my sort of a rebuttal to that, but you can listen to it through my blog. So here is an essay by my friend Craig C. White, who was part of this series so far on part 1. Turkish President Erdogan says that a safe zone must be created in northwestern Syria. This is the same area that is identified in Jeremiah chapter 49, verses 23 to 27. It describes an invasion into northwestern Syria near the Turkish border. After the Syrian towns of Hama and Tel Rafat hear reports of a coming invasion, then the residents of Damascus will flee and Damascus will be destroyed. Turkey will destroy Damascus, he says. In Jeremiah chapter 49, in those verses concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded and Arpad, for they have heard evil tidings. They are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea. It cannot be quiet. Damascus is waxed feeble, and turneth herself to flee, and fear hath seized on her. Anguish and sorrows have taken her as a woman in travail. How is the city of praise not left, the city of my joy? Says the Lord. Turkish President Erdogan will destroy Damascus. Erdogan is Magog and the end-time invader of Israel. Erdogan, Craig C. White has concluded, is the Antichrist. Craig C. White's documentary titled "The Nations Are Disquieted Over Syria" is at a link, and it is on this blog. January 26, 2016, CNN video of Hawaii Democrat Representative Tulsi Gabbard discusses her fact-finding trip to Syria. Listen.
Welcome back to the Lead, our world lead now. A desperate plea for help. 7-year-old Bana Alabed has become the face of innocent civilian suffering in Syria's deadly civil war. The young girl is now safely living in Turkey with her family. But earlier today, she tweeted a message to President Trump, quote, "I beg you, can you do something for the children of Syria? If you can, I will be your best friend. Thank you." With President Bashar al-Assad.
I did. My reason for going to visit Syria was really because of the suffering of the Syrian people that has been weighing heavily on my heart. I wanted to see if there was, in some small way, a way that I could express the love and the aloha and the care that the American people have for the people of Syria, and to see firsthand what was happening there, to see that situation there.
What did Assad have to say?
Initially, I hadn't planned on meeting him. When the opportunity arose to meet with him, I did so because I felt it's important that if we profess to truly care about the Syrian people, about their suffering, then we've got to be able to meet with anyone that we need to if there is a possibility that we could achieve peace. And that's exactly what we talked about.
Now, I know the maxim that people say in the military, that you don't make peace with your friends, you make peace with your enemies. But obviously Bashar al-Assad is responsible for thousands of deaths and millions of people being displaced during this 5-year-long civil war. Did you have any compunctions about meeting with somebody like that, giving him any sort of enhanced credibility because a member of the United States Congress would meet with someone like that?
Whatever you think about President Assad, the fact is that he is the president of Syria. In order for any peace agreement, in order for any possibility of a viable peace agreement to occur, there has to be a conversation with him. The Syrian people will determine his outcome and what happens with their government and their future. But our focus, my commitment is on ending this war that has caused so much suffering to these Syrian people, to these children, to these families, many of whom I met on this trip.
Okay, and you can listen to the rest of that video on my blog. Here is after our Tomahawk response from the Mediterranean Sea.
Most of the Washington establishment has been gung-ho for all this, as we just said. One of the few lawmakers who isn't is Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat, who criticized the escalation as reckless and warned it could cause a much broader war. She joins us.
Okay, and you can listen to that also. I'm in a rush right now. The last part of last month, we all had something we could all agree on, and that was units of the Iraqi Federal Police made new advancements against ISIS terrorists in the old city of Mosul after around the 20th of March 2017. Well, up until April 6th, our missile response, just days after the Syrian chemical attack that killed at least 80 people and injured dozens more on Tuesday, April 4, 2017. It is my thinking that Assad did not, as being repeated over and over, attack his people with a chemical bomb. I believe he destroyed a terrorist chemical supply, and those who were injured and those who died were collateral damage. I believe his claims that he turned over his stockpiles and terrorists were able to get a hold of some. And you can read the rest of this also on my blog. What are some historical aspects of President Donald Trump's decision for a tactical Tomahawk missile strike in the Mediterranean Sea? I think Trump is the first ever to launch from the Mediterranean Sea. In 2014, our ships were awaiting orders, but they did not get them because he had agreed with Russia that Russia would oversee Assad transferring their chemical weapons over to some world organization. And I'm going to conclude this. One thing is for sure, sadly, during all of this, many more are going to die. We will continue to debate, lie, cheat, steal, deceive, and make this world a worse place. But Jesus is coming soon. Thank you for joining me on the Michael Tobin Show, and God bless you.